I mention this a lot because we have celebrities, we have authors, and we have pundits on the air, as well as CEOs that give us a look inside what it's like to be a publicly traded company. And we got an email from one of our viewers that said you need to take a look at ShiftPixy. ShiftPixy, by the way, is my gang name.
Okay.
Pixy, P-I-X-Y, is a publicly traded company.
ShiftPixy.
You can go to ShiftPixy, that's P-I-X-Y.
I got you.
Okay, ShiftPixy.com. This is a platform that benefits both business operators and a part-time workforce, otherwise called the gig economy. Russ, what's the gig economy?
Well, you know, every so often I get a gig. I go out.
You got a gig?
Yeah, I got a gig, man. I go out, I work, I come back.
I'm gigging, man.
So that's what it is.
Gigging, buddy.
People who make money off of gigs.
Yeah, that's right.
Is
That's absolutely right. You're 100% right. It is Uber.
Oh,
it's
the little
DoorDash.
The little gigs.
It's side hustle, right? I think it's much more than side hustle.
Well, yeah.
But it's called the gig economy. Here joining us is the founder and CEO of ShiftPixy. His name is Scott Absher, and somebody told us to interview this guy, and we started digging in, and we thought this is a really cool company. Scott, how are you, sir? Thanks for coming by.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Yeah, TV.
Hey, listen. Okay, I'm just gonna let you take it away here because first of all, talk about the gig economy because we didn't have gig economy, or at least what we know of the gig economy, even like 10 years ago. Talk about this.
Yeah, you know, it's Sully. What most people don't remember when it started.
Yeah, right.
But to give you some backstory, in 2008, in the fall of 2008, when the markets collapsed. One of the things that emerged from that was the Department of Labor started taking notice of and keeping track of a new category of labor. They called it underemployed.
Right.
The idea being that somebody, maybe their full-time gig kind of altered, maybe not enough hours, maybe their project altered. And so they had to find some way to reconstruct their income. So these were those unemployed. But what most people don't pay attention to is a few short months later, in March of 2009, Uber was born.
Right.
And Uber was born into that perfect storm where there were 8 million people that would normally have to go to work in bars or restaurants or in retail at nights or weekends to reconstruct their income. Now they could do that just by firing up their mobile phone and reconstruct their income. And as soon as that happened, any industry that relied on part-time labor was at a complete disadvantage. So if you were brick and mortar and you relied on part-time labor, you had a whole new challenge. And what we saw happening in that tradition of part-time labor, say in restaurants and retail, where they had historically always had 100% turnover, those numbers had gone to 300% and 400% turnover in most markets.
You know, it's interesting, Scott. By the way, Scott Absher is his name. He is the founder and CEO of ShiftPixy. And ShiftPixy serves the gig economy, businesses and workers. We're going to talk about that in a minute. You know, it's interesting on that subject, you talk about, Scott, when the gig economy sort of first came into play. It's hard to believe that there was not such a thing as a smartphone, an iPhone, until 2007. Okay? iPads were not in our world until 2012.
Right.
It seems like we've always had them, and so you're sort of in that same business, Scott, where it sort of feels like we've always had a gig economy, but we haven't. Talk about what ShiftPixy does, because it's really an interesting platform.
Well, what happened for us is in about 2015, my co-founder, who did a lot of work with restaurant operators, was starting to be approached by them about trying to find and keep, or trying to find people. And that really wasn't part of his business DNA. But he thought about that and came up with an idea to share employees off a common platform. In our old tradition of managing human capital, we take a client and their employees and put them in a silo. And we do that over and over again until you had thousands of these silos with all the employees in there. His idea was to break those silos just a little bit and allow common clients that say we're in the restaurant industry, and our start was in Southern California, in your backyard, where we started allowing that, or offering that proposition of sharing employees as a way to cure toxic turnover. Wow. So what we did is we saw an opportunity based on what the gig economy platforms are doing, and take everything we knew from our original DNA in employer compliance and deliver compliance one shift at a time on a very elegant, very robust, mobilized platform.
Well, and what's interesting about this is, it's the customizable part of this thing. And I think it's the intuitive part, the automatic fill-in schedules and such like that make this bigger, better, faster, stronger, right? I mean, that's really a key selling proposition here, right?
Yeah, what's happened is with the movement of the gig platforms, they've completely changed the rules of engagement. Now, if you want to, and it's probably most critical right now in the market where small business employers are competing against the federal government for employees. So you've got to find better ways to make connections with people. You can't do it in the old way. So now leveraging a platform like ShiftPixy is probably your best way to meet the new workforce and meet them where they are.
What's interesting, by the way, his name is Scott Absher. He's the founder and CEO of a company called ShiftPixy. They are a NASDAQ company. They trade under the stock symbol PIXY, and ShiftPixy.com is their website. So take us through the average gig worker, how they would use the platform, and then, of course, monetization.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the monetization on our platform is all on the employer side. There's really nothing that we monetize we call them shifters on our platform. So the freight is always paid on the job provider side. Probably the most important user aspect for a shift worker on the ShiftPixy platform is that they can actually have more predictable income. As an example, the average income of an Uber driver on the Uber platform is like $700 a month, where on the ShiftPixy platform, it's closer to $2,000 a month.
Wow.
So they're able to create meaningful income and reliable income. So that's probably the most important of which. Second is that if you're a worker on our platform, you have all the traditional worker protections, such as if you hurt yourself on the job, you have workers' compensation coverage that is a cure for that. If you hurt yourself at Uber, helping somebody with their luggage.
Good luck, huh?
Yeah, there's no protection for you.
Wow.
Absolutely none. And there's also unemployment protections. All the traditional protections are built into our platform. So a lot of better user experiences and advantages on the ShiftPixy platform.
Hey, Scott, I want to ask you about this thing that we talked about a little while ago last year, and that's ghost kitchens. So we all use DoorDash, we all use Grubhub, we all use Uber Eats. And what is a hassle is, let's say that you are at a restaurant and suddenly you are forced to wait because and even if it's a little while, because you've got a DoorDasher in front of you and they're causing, it's good for business, it's good for consumers, but it's bad for customer service. So they created these ghost kitchens. Think about an empty Costco, which is now serving a Rubio's, which is now serving a McDonald's, or pick anything. Yeah. Ghost kitchens are a big piece of this with you guys. Talk about that.
Well, what happened for us when we went to fix this problem in the restaurant industry around labor, when we started launching that concept, the third-party delivery platforms were exploding. And we saw that creating all kinds of new problems for restaurant operators. Number one, they were, we always use McDonald's as the model.
Sure.
And we started asking the question, why would a brand thinking about McDonald's, who spent billions of dollars over decades or generations to curate their brand and their customer experience, why would they suddenly surrender that brand and that customer experience to a kid in a red golf shirt and cap and surrender their customer data? I said, I don't get it.
You're culturally appropriating people in red golf shirts.
Wait a minute, yeah.
Boy, you said red golf shirt and cap, man. That was exactly what's going on. Hey, how has COVID accentuated your business plan? I mean, it's a grotesque question, but this has to have helped you. And I know there's other businesses like that, right?
Yeah, I will say yes and no. One of the things that we thought, there was an immediate uptick for us when COVID hit, because people were scrambling to try and figure out how they navigate this.
Sure.
And a lot of restaurant operators, a lot of our clients were either closing down or certainly shutting down dining rooms. And of our customer class, the dining room guys, it got hit the hardest. The guys that had drive-through held their own. The guys that were in the pizza business had an uptick. So we saw mixed results. So everybody was coming to us wanting to know about our solution, because we created a way to re-engage them with customers through allowing them to deliver on their own rather than use third parties. So we were a very popular subject of conversation. However, the pandemic got so deep and so hard that most of these operators and most of these brands kind of put the brakes on and kind of just trying to hold on and keep the lights on. So initially we had a lot of interest, but then it got to much more of a panic mode, I would say, in that industry.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what,
Great idea.
you've been a pleasure. I want to have. Will you come back with us? I mean, I'd love to have you
Anytime.
back. It's awesome.
Anytime, guys.
Fantastic stuff. His name is Scott Absher, founder and CEO of ShiftPixy. PIXY is their stock symbol, building the future of the gig economy.
I have to tell my restaurant owner friends about that.
You need to.
Be handy.